Hello and welcome to the second Shotgun Comedy Podcast. I'm joined here by Matthew Armstrong.
Matthew, don't call me Shirley Armstrong.
And I'm Tom Tor, and welcome.
I don't like that. No, keep it. It's fine.
But yeah, I did a little bit of comedy last night at the Winston. It was a fantastic show. If you're in Durban, you must definitely check out the Winston every Wednesday, underground comedy night. New selection of comedians every week, hosted by Bob Perfect. Definitely check that out. It's just a little bit of, what do you call it? Pushing. Shilling, yeah.
Yeah, just nothing wrong with shilling. Although we're not even being paid. So
Yeah, I know, but it's a cool gig, you know. It's a very good vibe, and it's growing every week. It's getting better.
I think I performed at the Winston, which is a pub, once, and then the show moved to a smaller record shop, which was actually
Kaya Records.
Yeah, it was kind of shitty. I think it was way too small, and the audience was in your face, so it was like very. You felt like you were on the spot. You see, when you're on stage, you have some. Anonymity.
Okay, just
you have some anonymity. Anonymity.
Okay, you're anonymous, is what you're trying to say.
You're anonymous because you know the spotlight is in your face. You can't really see the crowd, and you're a fair distance. Like at this place, the crowd was like 1 inch away from you. And if you were dying, you could see it in their eyes.
Yeah.
You know, but
on the tears of the cheeks of the fresh young faces in the front row.
Tears of laughter, maybe. There's nothing funnier than a comic dying. But the Winston is cool. I like it.
Yeah, no, the Winston is a very cool vibe. A very dodgy area. What is the address?
9 Clark Road.
9 Clark Road.
Berea.
Yeah. So don't show up there unless you're showing up for the comedy gig. Oh, well, you're just scaring people off. Okay,
Come, it'll be great. You'll get raped.
Yeah, don't get
Maybe
raped.
you'll get murdered. You'll see a show.
Yeah, just take your life into your own hands for a change, man. Live on the edge. Come on.
No, you'll be fine. I mean, the people in there are good people and they'll look after you. But don't park your car off the main road, is all we're saying.
Yeah. Exactly. Don't engage, don't look people in the eyes. Just stare at your feet.
So Tom, have you been watching anything good lately?
Watching anything good? I discovered an interesting show called Baskets with Zach Galifianakis.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was quite cool for the first few episodes. It's described as a sadcom, which is like a new genre of like sitcoms where it's not like necessarily laugh after laugh after laugh like Big Bang Theory, and there's no laugh track or anything like that. It's quite seriously
I'm
framed.
There's laugh after laugh after laugh in the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, well, not necessarily you laughing, but there's laughs actually on the show. You know, you if you watch the show, you'll be laughed at by the TV.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, it's quite a good show. I finished season 1. It got a little bit too serious for me. Like I like the serious sitcoms like Louis, but this one it had like this continuous thing where his mother gets cancer and she starts dying, and it's like a little bit too hectic for me. But basically the storyline is Baskets is a clown, and he's a very terrible avant-garde clown who cares too much about his art. You know what I mean? And he goes and studies clowning in France and everything, and he fails miserably, and he comes back to America and he becomes a rodeo clown. And it's just about the trials and tribulations of his life. And if you like Zach Galifianakis, it's the guy from The Hangover, the guy with the big beard. I think you'll like the show because there's a lot of his style of humor in it.
If I'm honest, I'm not a fan, but you know.
Of Zach Galifianakis?
No.
I'm not really I wasn't a fan of The Hangover, but I love, like, I quite enjoy Between Two Ferns. You know that show that he has where he has, like, Obama on and stuff?
Yeah.
Because what he does in that show is he basically just rips off the celebrities, whoever else is on there. And I love that.
I began becoming not a fan, but I respect him more than I did. When he first started, I was very harsh on him. Actually, you know, I said, "Oh, here's another Seth Rogen wannabe trying to corner the awkward fat guy, funny guy market." You know, it wasn't washing with me at all. And
but he's a little bit more subtle than that.
Yeah, I see that now.
If you watch like his stand-up, he's definitely not like stereotypical. He's definitely unique. He's got his own brand of comedy.
Well, I saw a documentary he produced called Queenie. I don't know if he produced it, but he was certainly a big part of it.
Queenie.
It was about there's this homeless woman who hangs around, who hung around in this neighborhood. And because he was a stand-up comic, he obviously working late night, he would come across this woman a lot. And, you know, they would chat and she would encourage him. And this movie is about her, you know, and about they obviously try and help her in the process of making this movie, but it's also about her life story and how she relates to Zach. I think there's another minor celebrity that she knows, so she's like trying to say the sensitively. What is happening to me? Sensitively.
This is why you need to get back on the stage, Matt.
She's like a very she's like a very well connected homeless person. But it's an inspiring little documentary. Okay. It's on Netflix, ladies and gentlemen. Netflix, you know our address.
Oh.
You know, money. We just sold your documentary, so...
Yeah, well, another thing we could sell on Netflix is that new Dave Chappelle comedy special. I'm pretty sure it's new. I mean, you're saying it's a year old, but I mean, he was only talking about stuff that happened last year. I think it's pretty recently that it came out. But it's a 2-part comedy special, 2 different cities that he performs in, and the 2 sets are remarkably different. There are a few common threads in them, but I mean, it's pretty much completely different jokes.
That, you know, that's what struck me, because normally when you see a comedian on tour, like my favorite comedian is Dylan Moran, and I saw his Australia tour that he did. I think that was his last one, and the first show was great, but by the second show I heard every joke.
Yeah,
you know. So
I mean, even I've seen Eddie Izzard specials where he'll do 2 different nights, and those 2 gigs are very, very different. I mean, Eddie Izzard, he improvises a lot, but they're still way more similar than Dave Chappelle's 2 shows were. Like they were completely different. Like it's almost as if he wrote 2 different shows.
Yeah, one was in LA and one was in Dallas.
Yeah,
I think we agreed we preferred the one in Dallas.
Yeah, the Dallas one was better. The thing, you said the other one was in LA.
Yes.
The LA one, he was making more like awkward jokes, you know, like non-PC jokes, which always make you feel kind of awkward, you know. It's very difficult to... well, he's just talking about Bill Cosby the whole time. It's just like, oh, God, I don't want to hear about Bill Cosby anymore, you know, it's so overdone.
I think mainly because it makes me depressed, because if someone asked me before... let's say 12, 13, this whole thing kicked off with Bill Cosby. Someone asked me before then, I would say Bill Cosby, because even though I'm too young to have seen him live, I have seen his stuff online and I have purchased DVDs, and I think he's phenomenal. I do think he's a very, very funny guy, but it was, you know, it was obviously masking a very, very dark side of his life, and that's kind of depresses me. And it's weird, don't you think, how you can admire someone's work but be totally turned off the person, you know? It's sad because I genuinely like Bill Cosby's work. I love it, in fact, but now I can never watch it again with the same eyes.
Yeah.
it's ruined it.
Well,
for
he's
me.
just he's turned from a nice old man into a complete bastard fuckhead.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
You know what it reminds me of, and I'll let you guys in on a trade secret. I'm a huge wrestling fan. Not so much nowadays, but more, when I was a kid and
like WWE professional wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like when I was a kid, I was hugely into it, and when I was a teenager, I was like into the Attitude Era. I came in at the tail end of the Attitude Era, which, if you want to know what the Attitude Era is,
what's that?
just think. In the 90s, in the late 90s, early 2000s, wrestling was everywhere. That was the Attitude Era, when wrestling was cool. It was like socially, it wasn't like social poison like it is. Anyway, there's this wrestler called Chris Benoit. Very good wrestler. Like, you couldn't watch a match and fault him.
Yeah.
And so it was fake. But in 2007, he murdered his wife and child. And now I can't go back and watch a Chris Benoit match. As beautiful, as artful as it is, I just can't. I can't do it. Like, he killed, allegedly, I don't know if it's true, but apparently he killed his son using his finishing move with the crippler crossface. And I can't watch him do that move anymore, knowing that information.
Yeah, man. I stopped watching wrestling when I found out it was fake. But after talking to you about it, it's sort of cool. Like, I appreciate it a little bit more. And I've told you about this, but I mean, for the benefit of the listeners, it's like a whole drama that they act out, and you have some wrestlers playing the bad guys and some playing the good guys, and yeah, sure, the match is staged or whatever, but there's a lot of effort that goes into staging that, a lot of physicality and acting skills as well, and it's more about entertainment than anything else.
It is, but think about this: you have two people who, on the top rope, the one drops the other from the top rope in like a top rope suplex. And they do that without seriously harming each other, there's enormous art to that, If I were to do that to you, you would have a fucking broken neck back for sure. But they can do it and walk away from it with maybe a pulled muscle at best, They really know how to do it. And when you're a kid, you're into that. You're into the whole match, and you're invested into the realness of the match. What I found with fans as I grew up, they really into the spectacle of it. They into the spectacle of it to see how realistic it is. Like when we watch a move, we're like, holy shit, that looked real. That looked, and it was real. And you appreciate it more.
Oh man, you know what I was watching recently is that Andy Kaufman wrestling match.
Yeah.
That he had with that dude. That was like a perfect example of why wrestling is awesome, because Andy was playing the bad guy, and he got the whole audience to really hate him. The match was in Memphis, which is like down south. And before the show, he made all these promotional videos where he was taunting the Memphis crowd, being like, "This is soap, and you rub yourself with it when you're in the shower to get clean. And this is toilet paper. You're supposed to wipe with it after you go to the toilet." And obviously, everyone in Memphis just hated him for this, because he was calling them stupid or whatever. And when he got to fight the guy in the ring, he acted like a coward and was running away from him the whole time, until the wrestler gave him a free headlock. So Andy Kaufman was allowed to put him in a headlock for free, and he did so. And then the guy just body slammed him. He just lifted him up while he was in the headlock and just body slammed him, and he was out cold. But he wasn't really out cold. He was just pretending to be. And in that moment, the crowd just goes crazy, because like, now this guy that they hate has been, he got what was coming to him. And the match is technically over, but the wrestler proceeds to body slam him 2 more times, getting disqualified. So Andy technically won the match. And he was lying there on the ground, pretending to be out. And the wrestler's like, okay, dude, you better get up now. The crowd's not leaving, because the crowd was just standing around, like, shouting at him and all this stuff. And Andy's like, call me an ambulance. And the guy's like, no, dude, that's like $500. And he's like, I'll pay for it myself. So they call an ambulance and they get Andy taken away in an ambulance. And that just continues the whole drama of this thing, because now everyone thinks that Andy's really injured. And before they hated him, and now... before he was only wrestling women, and now he wrestled a man. He got his ass handed to him so much so that he broke his neck, in inverted commas. He didn't really. So yeah, it was like this massive drama that just kept going and going.
The guy he was wrestling was Jerry the King Lawyer.
Yeah.
Now he actually owned that wrestling promotion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he is a very fascinating character. He actually started out as a kid who was into artwork. And for that promotion, he entered like an artwork competition, and they sort of gave him a job of making caricatures for the magazine as a wrestler. And he did that. He made these caricatures of the wrestlers, and he just decided he wanted to be in the ring, and he
was quite a big guy already, though, wasn't he?
He was, but he's a very good artist, caricature artist. And he ended up buying that wrestling promotion or forming a new one. I think that one closed down and they reformed it. And he still runs it today, I think. He works for the WWE as a commentator. Well, he doesn't anymore. But he used to split his time between commentating and running his own promotion. So he's like a very... And he was actually referred to that guy by...
who Andy was.
Yeah, Andy was referred to him because what he wanted to do was outlandish.
Yeah.
And was seen as kind of exposing the business, which was a big no-no back then among promoters.
Let's just explain quickly, like Andy Kaufman was a comedian.
Yeah,
primarily.
People will know who Andy Kaufman is.
Yeah, just in case you don't know, because they might think he's a wrestler. He was a comedian who wanted to get into... He always wanted to be a wrestler, and this is how he got into wrestling.
Yeah. And it was... I think it was actually Vince McMahon who said to him, look, I know this guy, Jerry the King, he's quite out there. He might go for what you're want to do. And that was a win-win for him because he ran this little Tennessee Memphis promotion, and this was very much giving him publicity. So it was like Tom's absolutely right. It was a huge deal. Yeah.
And that guy, the wrestler, what's his name?
Jerry the King Lawyer.
Yeah, he was in the Jim Carrey film as well, Man on the Moon, where Jim Carrey plays Andy Kaufman. And I listened to his stories about filming with Jim Carrey, and apparently Jim Carrey was acting like a complete asshole the whole time because he was so in character as Andy Kaufman, but he didn't actually know what Andy Kaufman was like in real life because he had only witnessed the Andy Kaufman videos with this wrestler. So Jim Carrey thought that he acted like he did to that wrestler all the time. Whereas in reality, when Andy Kaufman and that wrestler were backstage by themselves in private, they were actually good friends and they were very nice to each other. Meanwhile, when Jim Carrey was doing the movie, he was like acting like he was like this guy was his arch nemesis and actually being a dick to the real person, you know. And at when they had to film that scene, Jim Carrey got a stunt double to do the body slams and stuff. Yeah. Because they didn't want Jim Carrey to get hurt. But then, but the whole crowd, who were all extras, were taunting Jim Carrey because they were saying he was too scared. And then Jim Carrey was like, okay, no, body slam me. I'm not too scared. This is the producers. They're trying to protect me, blah, 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 blah. And then he was trying to get the guy to body slam him, but he was just like, no, I'm not going to do it. Because he knew that if he did it, Jim Carrey would pretend to be out, just like Andy Kaufman did, like playing the role. And he knew that he would probably get sued as well, just like Andy Kaufman sued in inverted commas. Yeah. So I think he ended up actually body slamming him, and that's exactly what Jim Carrey did. He had to. he got taken away in the ambulance and all this shit. But luckily, he didn't actually end up getting sued for it.
Jim Carrey, what's happened to him?
I don't know. No, but apparently after that, when the movie was finished, he like apologized to him and bought him a gift and invited him to his mansion and like made it up to him and stuff. I don't know. He got all like spiritual and stuff.
He's a Scientologist now, isn't he?
I don't know about that.
I think he is.
He's always talking about like universal love and like consciousness and like all that good stuff. But I think because Jim Carrey he really started falling in like the 90s, didn't he? I mean, it's been ages.
Yeah.
Like, and it was that slew of movies that he did that were very popular, like Ace Ventura, The Mask,
Liar,
and that was like his heyday. And then it was like Cable Guy was like the start of The Descent.
Yeah.
Grinch was quite a good one as well. Grinch is a classic.
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Yeah, then what the hell happened there?
I have no idea.
Weird. And he started doing like weird artsy movies, like they were quite good movies though, like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
I love that movie.
Yeah, that's a great one for anyone who likes like mind-fucky artistic films. It's a great one.
It's sort of, I used to love the film Inception, but now my opinion of it has changed quite a lot. I think it's a bit too on the nose. It's a bit obvious what they're trying to do. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is what Inception should have been. A bit more subtle, but the themes are there, you know.
I read this article today saying that Inception was the prequel to The Matrix.
No.
It was like a fan theory, but they were like giving all these reasons why, blah blah blah. You know, they're remaking The Matrix.
Really?
Yeah, there's going to be a new one. A lot of people are mad about it, but I'm quite happy about it actually, because there's I think it's relevant. It's more relevant today than it was when it came out.
Yeah.
You know, with the rise of virtual reality and more simulations and things like that.
I will say this, the first Matrix is a pretty damn good movie. It's not, people hold it with reverence. I don't think it deserves that. I don't think it's like a classic Godfather, Apocalypse Now in the classics. I don't think it's that. I think it's a pretty darn good movie.
My girlfriend hasn't even seen The Matrix. She doesn't even know what it is or what it's about.
But this brings me to my point. It is dated as hell. I mean, they're wearing those leather trenches, those leather trench coats. Everything's leather. It's like, it's so 90s. It's so late 90s. And
what would they be like now? They would be wearing like shutter shades, Crocs.
Well, they would be hipsters, wouldn't
hipsters.
they? Because
with braided beards and like, I don't know, cow horn mugs.
I came out of the Matrix before it was cool, you know, like lensless glasses.
Yeah, that's what hipsters are, basically. They're just people who have broken out of the Matrix.
You're plugged in, man. Anyway, let's move on. I feel like I spoke a lot about wrestling. And
no, man, don't worry about it. What about the Paladins? We haven't spoken about Paladins yet.
Oh, yeah, Paladins. Well, Paladins is a new multiplayer game. It's in beta at the moment.
And it's free!
It's free on Steam.
It's free and it's comparable to Overwatch, which is about $600. 600 rand. And I bought Overwatch and I regret it because I barely play it. And like what makes Paladins much better than Overwatch is just the connection. Like I don't have connection issues when I play Paladins. I always have connection issues for some reason when I play Overwatch. And Paladins is basically the same. So I definitely recommend you check it out if you're into multiplayer gaming.
At the moment, I'm digging my Paladins because I'm playing against Tom.
Yeah, we make a little clan, you, me and my girlfriend.
Yeah. And I can play against people. But I don't regret buying Overwatch. I still think Overwatch is a fantastic game. But I could see, I don't have connection issues. If Tom...
Well, you're on the PlayStation Network. Yeah. I have it on PC.
Yeah, and Tom lives like in the country,
yeah.
where like
Where cows roam free.
and the internet infrastructure isn't as good. So I can understand why you would prefer Overwatch.
Yeah, well, it doesn't really. That shouldn't factor in. I mean, if Paladins is working well, I don't see why Overwatch, especially when Blizzard, who made Overwatch, has more money to spend on servers and things like that. It should be better. But anyway.
But it isn't where you live for some reason.
Yeah, but why is Paladins good though?
That's what I'm saying. No idea.
Anyway. It's good fun though.
I think because it uses Steam. I think Steam is huge.
Yeah, that's possibly it. Yeah.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the difference is like Steam. A lot of people have Steam on their computers, and it makes things smoother. I don't know. That would be my guess.
Yeah.
But the thing that's cool about Paladins is it is a basic Overwatch ripoff. It really is. I mean, you can see it, but they've tried to be subtle about it. They've given a few of the characters, they look a lot like the Overwatch characters, but they'll mix and match with the abilities. So, for instance, there's this character in Overwatch called McCree, and there's
Genji.
And Tracer. There's McCree, Tracer, and then there's like this Grim Reaper character. I don't know what his name
Reaper.
is.
I think it's just Reaper. Yeah.
Reaper. In Paladins, they've fused the three into one character.
They have got some original ones. Like,
yeah, they do.
What's that turtle? Makoa.
He's
pretty much. He's original to the first-person MOBA. I mean, Overwatch doesn't have him, but other MOBAs like League of Legends, you could compare him to. I can't remember what the character's name, but that armadillo-like character from League of Legends.
But Makoa has like a chain gun that reminds me a lot of Roadhog from Overwatch.
Yeah, sort of. Well, what's also interesting about this game is that there's what makes it different from Overwatch is there's different cards that you can get, and you can build loadouts for your characters. So not everybody has the same character. If you play the same character as someone else, you won't have the same abilities because these cards slightly change your abilities. And you can collect the cards as you go, and there aren't that many, so it's not as if like somebody's going to have a huge advantage over you if they have a nice card.
I must say I like that that loadout system where you get cards, and these cards either buff your attributes like your damage or your recovery or your reload time. You know, they give you certain buffs, and you create a loadout to give your character the best possible chance of winning. And I enjoy that. That's quite good.
Yeah, and also like not all the characters are unlocked from the beginning, so you can have you have a sense of progression as you unlock more characters, and also it's not overwhelming because you start off with about 5 characters, and you can learn all of those very quickly.
A few points of contention I have, but these may be ironed out because it's still in beta, you know, so these can very well be ironed out. Is you have your loadouts where you can give your character certain buffs with some attributes, but then you have alternative in-game buffs that you can buy, and it's just too much.
Well, there are 4 different types of currency in the game.
Yeah, it's
overcomplicated.
Way too confusing.
Yeah,
you know, they should simplify that.
Intentionally confusing, I think, in order to get people to pay money, like because they might think that they need money in order to get certain things in the game, but you don't. It's entirely, you don't have to pay money unless you want like certain aesthetic items that don't change the game really as well.
Yeah, it's not pay to win, which I quite like.
Yeah,
a lot of games are pay to win.
But another game I've been playing is a really old one from like the year 2000. It's called Revolt, and you play as like a little remote control car. And what got me back into the game was I found out that the community behind that game has been improving it and patching the game ever since it came out. So for like the past 16 years. Oh no, wait! It didn't come out in 2000. It came out in in '97, so it's 20 years old this year.
Jeez.
So a really old game, but it still holds up. I mean, I'm having so much fun with it. Revolt, yeah.
I've never heard of that. This is a bad topic for podcast.
Yeah, my bad. I just had it on my PC when I was a kid.
joking.
I mean, my brother will know about it if he's listening. My brother and I used to play it all the time.
Oh, explain it a bit.
Okay, well, it's sort of like Mario Kart. So you have a little remote control car, and then the tracks aren't just generic tracks like they are on Mario Kart. They're beautiful environments, and because you're a remote control car, you're very, very small. So you'll be like racing underneath cars, and like through houses and through supermarkets and that sort of thing. There's one level where you're in a museum, one where you're on a ship, and for the time that the game was made, the environments are actually really pretty. And then you have different pickups as you're racing. So you'll have like a bomb that you can place and rockets that you can fire at other carts. So that's how it's similar to Mario Kart with the abilities that you get.
I do remember that game actually.
You do?
Now that you...
It's super challenging, and it's like funny as well because of the abilities and like blowing people up, and it's just a good laugh, you know.
Do you remember the game? You know what? Speaking of games, and particularly old games, we're going to be starting our Let's Play series this month, and we've picked Mafia, haven't we?
Yeah, Mafia 1, which is one of my favorite games of all time. It's kind of obscure. It's a game similar to GTA that came out at about the same time as GTA 3, and as such, not many people know about it because it was sort of overshadowed by GTA 3, but at that time, I played GTA 3 and Mafia at the same time, and Mafia was miles better. And also another reason why not a lot of people know about it is because it's a Czech game, and it actually won best game of all time in the Czech Republic when it came out. I know that's not a big deal, but I mean they liked it so much, and it won many other game awards. I can't remember all of them, but it's just got like a beautiful aesthetic to the game. It's got personality. The guy who produced the game, he's a very talented 2D artist. So the whole game is full of these beautiful hand-drawn textures, and there's just so much detail and love poured into that game. Anyway, you'll see it. You must watch our channel as we play through it. Yeah,
we're gonna have our own Let's Play series, and you know we don't wanna. I'm not saying we're gonna be wholly original, but you know, not a lot of Let's Play channels play really, really old games, like from. Well,
that was from 2000.
Yeah, from the
2001.
Early 2000s. I mean, they are, but I feel like you either get really, really new games, like really, really new AAA titles, or you get the retro 8-bit playthroughs. And it'll be cool to have something, I feel, in the middle of all that, you know. And yeah, come watch us. We'll have a ball, man.
Yeah, it's going to be good fun. And then we're also going to do another Let's Play with Auntie Roz.
Who's my mother.
Yeah, and have a good laugh at her fiddling around with the controls, trying to get the game to work.
You know, it's not an original idea. People do Let's Plays with their mothers, but I find, you know, when people do it, with all due respect, if anyone has done it who's listening, they focus too much on the I'm teaching my mom how to play aspect of it. And what I found funny is when I'm in the lounge, you know, sitting playing on my PlayStation, my mom is making these weird comments on the game, which I find fucking funny, man. like I'm playing Zero Horizon Dawn, which is actually what we're going to be playing. I'm playing Zero Horizon, and she's saying stuff like, why doesn't she go to the toilet? Don't you need the toilet? No, don't. So like, well, you can climb that rock. Why can't you climb that rock? Climb that rock. I want you, Mum, the mission says I must climb up here. Yeah, but go climb there. Go there. I'm like, no, Mum, the mission... Yeah. Maybe I can climb there. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but...
And probably to the average person who doesn't play video games, that rock face looks perfectly climbable.
Yeah.
But to a gamer, it's like clear that rock face is not meant to be climbable.
Yeah, there's no allocated ledges that you can grab on.
You can just gamer logic tells you where you can and can't go.
And like my mum would focus on infuriating details that she has a point, but like to gamers it just doesn't make sense. Like I remember playing Uncharted, and in Uncharted you can climb some of the vegetation but not all of it. So you're climbing a vine and then you jump from vine to vine, your character, but there's some vines that are purely decorative, but you can't climb them. And my mum would focus on the one vine that you can't climb. Like, well, why can't you climb that vine? That's climb that vine. And she would say, like, really, I don't want.
Didn't she say, like, how do you sit down?
Yeah, she asked me, how do you sit down? I want to sit down. I said, we were playing Zero Horizon Dawn again, and I said, well, you can crouch. That's about that. Why do you want to sit down? I don't understand.
How do I just rest my legs for a bit? But I think this is why, okay, well this is probably a sweeping statement, but why girls like Sims in general is because, you know, you get to do all that stuff. You can sit, you can go to the loo.
Have a nice sit down.
Yeah. All that cool stuff.
But I can't wait to see her in a combat situation. I just want.
Has she not got into combat yet?
No. We've practiced movements, basic movements, and that's about it. Because I do want her to sort of trial by fire, you know. I've just given her a basic tutorial on basic movements, and the rest is up to her. And it's for my enjoyment, Tom's enjoyment, and your enjoyment that we're gonna watch her. Probably fail, but we're gonna try get through the whole game. It's gonna be a long slog.
Yeah, that game looks pretty cool too. Zero Horizon Dawn, or as she calls it, New Horizons.
Yeah, my mum is really bad with names, as you'll learn. But no, Zero Horizon Dawn. Look, I bet Tom's pretty sick of me. I gush over it. It is a really, really solid game. Don't go into it expecting groundbreaking things. It doesn't do anything new, but what it does really well. And you know what? Complaining that it doesn't do anything new is sort of like complaining that your car, which is a really nice car, doesn't, you know, doesn't do anything new. I would rather have an old Ferrari that drives really well than a new experimental car that fucking breaks all the time, you know.
Yeah, I mean, that analogy it doesn't really work with games though, because I mean, games are there for your entertainment alone, whereas cars have a utility.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but I get what you mean. The different, I mean, you get a lot of AAA games.
Yeah.
And you love that. I like AAA games too, but I think the reason I don't play many of them is because I just have limited hard drive space. So and indie games tend to be very, very small, and that's why I get a lot of them. Like Starbound, or Stardew Valley, or Terraria, Minecraft, blah, 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 blah.
I must admit, I'm a huge mark for the AAA market, and I think I'm not for shallow reasons that I need to have the best of everything.
Well, you have a PlayStation.
Yeah.
I've never had a PlayStation or anything like that. I'd love to have a PlayStation. I should probably get one actually.
It's, you know, it's weird you should bring it up, because in the Western world, a PlayStation is like what poor people buy. Yeah, no, like seriously, PlayStation gamers and console gamers in general are looked down upon as, oh wow, you don't have a PC. You know?
Well, yeah, I was a big PC Master Race guy and always making fun of consoles. But you know, when you actually play a console, you realize that it's quite convenient. You know, everything works perfectly. The gameplay is smooth, and you don't have to worry about background processes, or like if you've built your computer wrong or something like that. So I mean, but you're saying that people who buy PlayStations are seen as poor?
Yeah, it's because nowadays it's so expensive to
build a computer
that even though consoles are expensive, it's seen as the more economical option.
Yeah. I think a lot of people who are computer gamers, they also tend to use their computers for other things. Like, I mean, not to say that you don't use a computer for other things, but like they'll use it as their work tool as well. So their computer will be their work and play tool. That's like me, you know. So I use it to make money, and then I use it to game as well. So there's not really any need for. I've got a powerful machine. There's no need for me to go get a PlayStation. It would just sort of be wasteful.
I think the draw is with a console, and I know this from being a huge PC gamer myself. With the PC, you always feel under pressure to a cool game comes out. You're like, right, I'll buy that game. Shit, do my specs match up with the system requirements? No, it doesn't. What do I need? And then you figure, I need a new graphics card. Then you're like, okay, I'll buy a new graphics card.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't fit your motherboard, so you got to buy a new motherboard, and it just becomes it becomes like, have you played those games where you just grind and grind? That's, to me, that's what computer ownership is a lot like. You're just grinding.
If you're playing like AAA games, all the latest releases and stuff like that, it can be a massive expense and a huge problem. Super high graphics, all that stuff. Yeah, then get a PlayStation, get a high-end computer. But if you have a crappy computer and you can't afford anything better, there's still like loads of games that you can play with that. You know, online games, and every game that came out in the 90s or 2000s, you still have access to that, which is something that like consoles don't really have. I know that they're starting to do it a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with you, but I think people who like consoles like me, it's really more for the casual gamer. I mean, it's something you can pick up and leave just as easily. And I mean, I'm a bit more than a casual gamer, but these days not really, because I'm also busy with other things. So it is about convenience.
Yeah, let's just address the fact that we've recorded this last section of the podcast twice now, for about 20 minutes each time, and both times it hasn't recorded. First time because of a power outage, second time the computer just decided it wasn't going to record that. So we're trying to remember everything that we said and repeat it back. But like, so I was talking about characterization in Mafia, and about this one character, Vincenzo, whose only purpose in the game is to give you guns at the beginning of every level. And you go there with your character and he's like, "Hey Tommy, I got a special number for you today. Got this baseball bat, it's signed by Johnny Morello." And Tommy's like, is that for real? And he's like, no, but if you hit someone over the face with it, they're not going to question you. Kind of thing. So yeah, they could have just started every level by giving you the guns that you need for that level. But instead they made you walk into this office, talk to this guy. You know, he was fully animated, he was fully voiced, beautiful office and everything. And it was just for that little reason. And it adds so much to the immersion of the game, you know. And Vincenzo is like a memorable character, even though he had such a small role in the game. And I love little details like that in games.
Yeah, you know, I think character for video games very important.
Like, how lame would it have been if they just gave you a baseball bat instead of like having this awesome story from this guy? You know?
Would have been terrible.
Yeah.
Like, an example of that I can think of is the Mass Effect series, where part of the draw of Mass Effect, right, was that the name was literal. Your choices had a massive effect throughout the whole game series. You could even going so far as to, between games, you could upload your save data from the last game, so you're playing as that character in the new game, and all of their choices affect the gameplay in this new game. That, at the time, was, I think even still, no other game has done that, you know. But there's this character who's like a scientist. His name is Morden, right?
Yeah.
And he is a scientist who he always feels guilty because he created this virus called the genophage. And because his people are at war with another alien race called the Krogans.
Do you know phage sounds like a gene that eats other genes?
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it was. But it had more to do with the Solarians, which is what Morden was. They came together and thought, well, the Krogans, they're very warlike and they're very sort of tribal. We should limit their numbers. So they developed this genophage weapon which affected their population. They couldn't reproduce. Now, in the game, whether or not a character lives or dies by the end of the game depends on your relationship with them. So, I had a good relationship with Morden, and he survived to the next game. And then the next game, his character arc comes full circle, right? There's a mission where it's possible that he's found a cure for the genophage, but he gives his life to do it in the course of the mission. Now that gives a very poignant character arc for him, which if you didn't like him in the first game, if you didn't have a great relationship with him, that whole mission, that whole arc would, it wouldn't even matter in the third game. And you can argue that, it doesn't matter to the overall plot of the game. But it's like you said, just little character things like that, and giving a character a motive and a backstory and reasons for doing things just adds to your immersion in the world and makes it that much more believable. And yeah, man, I'm a big mark. I use the word mark a lot. I'm a big mark for sort of really good story and in video games, and because I think it's such a perfect medium for it. It's interactive. You can participate in the story. It's cool, and I like it when video game developers take advantage of that. They don't just do the Gears of War, shoot the enemy till they dead.
Yeah.
Cookie cutter.
Yeah. I must play Mass Effect one of these days. It sounds very immersive. But remember before in the old recording I was talking about the music.
Yes.
Yeah, so I just want to mention that quickly, and then I think we should just wrap it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music in Mafia, it's this beautiful soundtrack by Django Reinhardt, who's like this 1920s jazz musician. So as you're driving around the city, all the different suburbs like Chinatown and Hoboken and all those, like downtown, all those areas have a different soundtrack for them. All gypsy jazz. Actually, some of them aren't Django Reinhardt, but it's all like a mixture of gypsy jazz and 1920s
like popular
music. Yeah, and
teeny weeny Chinatown.
Yeah. Oh, I also was talking about the themes in the game. Did I mention that in the last video? No, I don't know. I don't think so.
No, you didn't.
The themes of the game are basically the guy. He's a mafioso and he has to kill people on a daily basis, but he has this inner conflict of trying to live a normal life and be a good person, but while still having to murder people on a daily basis at the whims of his Don boss, and there's a line where he's like, what do I say to my wife when I go home? Like, hey honey, I killed 50 people today, It's a line from the game. So and that carries through right to the end. I mean, when the credits roll in the game, they've got this rap song playing. It goes like, where the gangsters go when they die, they don't go to heaven where the angels fly. Yeah, so it just like sums up the whole point of the game, which is cool. It's got like a message to it. It's not just shooting and driving.
And you're gonna enjoy that because, as I stated earlier, we're gonna be doing a Let's Play series on that. So you can see what we mean.
There's a lot in store. I think let's just say a little bit about the Spur thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to explain. We'll put a link to there was this big incident in South Africa recently that's caused a lot of conversation online. It's the Spur incident. This guy was shouting at this black woman at Spur, this white guy. Just look into it yourselves. All I have to say about it is the guy's a cunt, and I'm going to leave it there. That's it.
Yeah, but a bigot is as bigot does.
Bigot is a bigot does, yeah.
I'm not gonna go into arguments about is it racism, is it not racism, is it sexism, is it...
Yeah, we do, because like we said, like we recorded a whole podcast and we cut it out, and we spoke so long about this incident, and you know, we end up just rehashing everything that everybody else has said.
Yeah, and I think it takes away what should be taken away from the incident is that, you know, just don't be a dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I honestly think that's the thing we should all take away. Just don't be a cunt.
Yeah. I mean, there's, I'm thinking of things to say about it right now, but I think we should just leave it there. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Please tune in next time where we'll be talking about
Hippopotamuses
in hang gliders. And, Matt?
Yeah, you know, we got a lot of content coming up. You know, we've got the Let's Play with Mafia, very exciting. We have the Let's Play with my mother. We're going to be playing Zero Horizon Dawn. We got another podcast coming next month. We have a lot of stuff in store for you. So if you like what we have to say, if you find us vaguely amusing, if you find us vaguely informative, please like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, this has been Shotgun Comedy. Click, click.
Bang, bang.